And we will stand with you as we seek answers and take action. How many innocent people in our country, from little children to church members to movie theater attendees, how many people do we need to see cut down before we act?
All right, and that means take your guns away. Congressman Steve King, member of the House Subcommittee on Immigration and Border Security, and from the great state of Iowa, joins us. Hello, Congressman.
Hello, Steve. Good to be back on your program again.
Always great to have you. So Hillary, was following in the footsteps of what Barack Obama did earlier yesterday, and that's immediately blame guns and make this a political issue certainly before the bodies are even buried.
It is. You just see this happen. It's so predictable. Whenever I see a tragedy in the news, I just cringe at how it's going to be twisted for a political agenda. And it is a tragedy in South Carolina. There is no doubt. And it's about. I think when you have people that are worshiping in church on Wednesday night, some people go to church on Sundays to be seen. I don't know anybody that goes to church on Wednesday evening to be seen. They're there because they're faithful worshipers of our Lord. And to be murdered, to be slaughtered in a place like that, after he went in with them especially, it's a sickening thing to think of. But it wasn't the gun that did the action. It was the individual. And he's the one to be held accountable. And then the next thing I would look at, not the gun for the culprit, but I would look at the medication that seems to be a common denominator in many of these mass murderers.
No, you're absolutely right about that. And we had Governor Perry on earlier who said the same thing about the medication. I just want to let you in on something else that Hillary said, according to Breitbart. She was speaking with John Ralston, and she said, public discourse is sometimes hotter and more negative than it should be, which can, in my opinion, trigger someone who is less than stable. I think we have to speak out against it, like, for example, a recent entry into the Republican presidential campaign said some very inflammatory things about Mexicans. So this was in the context of the shootings. So she's, in effect, talking about Donald Trump's speech with relation to the Charleston violence. I mean, this harkens back to Gabby Giffords and when they blamed Sarah Palin because her website had targeted districts where the Republicans could take seats. I mean, this is insane.
And on top of that, it's Hillary that says, I'm not going to channel my husband, but she would channel Donald Trump's announcement speech instead to try to gain a political advantage out of that.
Yep.
And add the presumption that perhaps there will be some white people that might discriminate against some not-so-white people on the basis of being inspired by Trump's speech. Hey, we need to call them out on the spot for that. To give you another example, though, yesterday I walked into the Omni Hotel to give a speech there for the Faith and Freedom Group that Ralph Reed and others are part of organizing, and I'm immediately confronted in a very offensive way by a young man in a suit who is advancing the Pope's climate change agenda.
Right,
and,
the encyclical, yeah.
Yes, and he demanded that I endorse it and support the Pope's position on it, and I said I haven't read it. And anyway, could it be that the Pope's position put me in that situation yesterday? I don't know, Steve, but I'm not going to blame the Pope on that one. As
right.
Society has not taken responsibility, and this idea also of let's say you are what you think you are, or what you say you are, what you feel you are.
You mean the trans world in which we're living
yes,
in?
Yes, the Bruce Gender agenda.
Yes, yes.
I cannot believe how far this society has gone from rational thought and from the time that I received a good education until there is no truth anymore in the education, there's so much of it that's delivered these days.
I'm with you on that to a great extent. We got a minute left. A National Review piece today by Mark Krikorian at the National Review, and he's talking about how Obama administration gives tips to illegals on getting work permits. The ICE director says no one's being fired for releasing 65,000 criminal aliens onto the streets, 52,000 arrested in the Midwest for robbery, burglary, battery, hit and run. When does this get turned around?
Well, it gets turned around with a new president, and that's about the only way we can do that. this president is outrageous in the things that he's stretching. I just say a little bit ago they announced that they were going to change the emission standards on our trucks, our semis on the road. And there goes the cost of all of your freight getting cranked up. So there's that. There's just the agenda of this president, the illegals. I would just say, I've been asking the question.
We got 20 seconds, Congressman, so
okay. Here's the question. People die in the desert trying to get into America, but lots of Americans die at the hands of those who make it through. And I asked Mike Cutler that one day in a hearing, and he's from New York, INS, and he said, I don't know the answer, but I can tell you it is in multiples of the victims of September 11th.
Yep. All right. Congressman, great to talk to you. I will. Have a great weekend. Give Me 5 is next, folks. Thank you.